Hello, welcome to day 3 of the Bible in a Year. We're following with Father Michael Schmitz and Dr. Jeff Cavens this adventure of exploring the whole Bible in a year. Today we're doing Genesis chapters 5 and 6, and as we've been saying, the first chapters of Genesis, well, we have to know that it's a theological book. It's not a scientific book. They didn't know about the details and intricacies of science back then, but it's definitely telling us things that are true and also giving us some of our Catholic concepts. We, as Catholics, believe that it's a Catholic book, and already in the very beginning, we're having these concepts of the seriousness of sin and the Catholic interpretations make sense when you think about the fact that Catholics are often talking about things like, well, original sin and the fact that we all, kind of deserve some what we call temporal punishment due to sin. Of course, Christ died for our eternal punishment to free us from that, but nevertheless, there's in time in our lives we have to suffer a little bit in order to love, in order to overcome the weakness that has come because of the fall. So it's for our own good. And another concept that we have in the early parts of the Bible is this idea of ritual and sacrifice. Catholics were big on, Mass, liturgy, altar, priesthood, sacrifice. We have a temple, church where we gather, and just like in all ancient religions, we offer to God an atoning sacrifice. We try to offer God something. It's just what humans do. It's what we do, and that's part of the work that we do. Liturgia is a Greek word that means work. And so I'd like to speak a little bit about what we heard yesterday in day 2, even though we're in day 3. In chapter 4 of Genesis, we saw that it's really something that human beings do. As soon as it describes Cain and Abel and the fact that Cain was a farmer and Abel was a shepherd, it immediately says that the next thing that you see that it occurs to them to do is they both kind of build an altar, or they offer something to God. They offer a sacrifice to God. And this is just, I can't overestimate this idea that human beings know that things are kind of messed up in this world, and we've got to appease God or please God. We've got to offer God something. And ancient peoples in every country in Africa and in America and the Aztecs and every place, there's always some sort of offering on an altar to God. And it's part of what human beings do. Now, in our modern world, it's been a little bit forgotten. I think there's a rejection of Catholicism. In our country, we have Protestantism, which has no altar. But Mahatma Gandhi, the Hindu, said something interesting. He said, religion without sacrifice is an absurdity of the modern era. I love that quote, that somehow modern man thinks that you can have religion without making sacrifice or some sort of, suffering. Something has to give. Something you have to give up. Something, that kind of thing. And so, in order to make it rain, for example, ancient peoples, to bring rain on their crops, they would offer something, and in many places, the most valuable thing that you could possibly offer would be livestock. Having grain and wheat and plants is fine, but then if you can raise animals that provide protein and strength and feeding, and you have to feed these animals hay and grain and plants. So a firstling from the flock had greater value. And so that's why perhaps God really looked on the sacrifice of Abel with favor, whereas Cain's offering, he offered some of his fruits from the ground or vegetables. He offered that, and that just didn't seem to have as much value. But I think another reason that we have to see as Catholics, I think that I'd like to point this out. It wasn't mentioned by Father Michael Schmitz, this interpretation that I've heard. Dr. John Bergsma speaks about the fact that certainly when God looked down on Abel offering presumably some sort of lamb or a small innocent animal, the first from his flock, the first fruits or the firstborn of his flock, God of the Father, of course, would have thought ahead to the future when his own beloved Son would be offered, that his Son would come not as a lion king to dominate the world, but as a gentle, silent lamb led to the slaughter to die for our sins. And so this is kind of why we kind of suspect that God would have looked at Abel's sacrifice with and blessed Abel. Maybe Abel, maybe repeatedly, maybe, several times, Abel offering up lambs, God, his prayers answered. Maybe God blessed him with certain things, and Cain noticed that he wasn't getting. How many times are we like that, where we don't get what we want, we kind of get angry with God? And that's what Cain did. He got angry, and he got jealous of Abel, and there was the resulting murder story, of course. And so I like to repeat that as I go through the Bible with Michael Schmitz, I'm Father Michael Schmitz. I want to say that I like to also simplify the Bible, that you can say that it's a love story. You can say that it's a marriage. You can say that the whole Bible is a family story. You can say that the whole Bible is a bread story with bread from heaven. From the beginning chapters to the end, there's banquets. There's God feeding us. And also, I like to say that it is a lamb story. The whole Bible begins and ends, and here we have Abel with offering a lamb that's pleasing to God. And the last page of the Bible we're going to learn is the wedding feast of the Lamb, where Christ is the Lamb who is the bridegroom of all of us, the church. And so today let's go back to day 3, and today we talk about Noah. Well, we're going to find out that at the end of this story of the flood and the ark and Noah, the first thing that occurs to Noah to do when he comes out of the ark is, it says, guess what? He will build an altar and offer a sacrifice. It says he offered sacrifices of all the clean animals and clean birds. He had been in the ark for quite some time, and so obviously there was some offspring from these animals. So I guess hopefully no species went extinct because of these sacrifices that Noah did. But my point is that from the beginning, and usually it was the patriarch, the father of the family, that was the priestly figure who would go up the hill and offer a sacrifice for the sake of his family, for example. And we're going to see that throughout the Bible. The firstborns were originally the first priests of the religion of Judeo-Christianity. Well, God bless you. I'm praying for you, and I hope that this helps to clarify this day 3 of the Bible in a year.